I want to just start by kind of thanking people again across the city region. It was an incredible result, but I take it as an endorsement of everything that everyone in Greater Manchester is trying to do. I think it was if you like, an emphatic validation of what we've tried to put in place in the city region over recent times, the changes that we're bringing. But that said, we do have to work harder to deliver more change, and that's why I'm saying at the start of this third term that it will be the most ambitious yet. We will now kind of drive more change more quickly, and we're able to do it because the combined authority now is an established organisation with the ability to deliver, and we're ready to deliver, and that is exactly what we're going to do. I know friends in the media and maybe the public as well will be glad that I won't be boring you about buses for 4 years. There's a plan in place there to build out the B network, and that is very much in hand, and we're going to bring overland rail within the B network within this mayoral term, but that plan is taking shape. So with that, it is possible now to turn attention to other fundamental issues that need to be fixed. In this third term, making change around technical education will be a personal mission. We will give our young people an equal alternative to the university route, and we'll be saying more about that next month with a major event involving schools across Greater Manchester and businesses, where we'll set out the plan in detail for the Greater Manchester Baccalaureate, the MBAC, and that will be a big theme in this third mayoral term. But alongside it, housing is moving centre stage. And it needs to, because we can't keep talking about a housing crisis in this country without getting stuck into the detail of what it means to fix it. And that is what I will lay out for you this morning as to how we are going to do that. We start by setting a new ambition for the city region to fix the housing crisis within a decade. And that means, obviously, building tens of thousands more homes for social rent, a new generation of council homes in our 10 districts. But it is also about raising the standard of housing in both the social rented and the private rented sector. And that's the mission, if you like. And it's why I'm going to be creating a Greater Manchester Housing First unit within the Greater Manchester Combined Authority, bringing together people working in a range of disciplines across Greater Manchester, so that we can have that focus on the whole system and bringing about the change that we want to see. I've started my third term this morning with a walkabout of Manchester city centre, with our street engagement team, led by Greater Manchester Police, but also with colleagues from Manchester City Council and Riverside Housing. And you may remember that when I came into office on my first ever day as mayor, I did the same thing. So 7 years on, what a difference! What a difference! Not that there are not still people out there needing support. That there are, and that there are too many. But the ability that we now have to offer help to everybody is so much increased, and it was actually if you like, quite a good experience that when you kind of come across people, we couldn't offer them anything back then, but we can now, and that will remain our approach. There are, as I say, though, too many people who are in that position of being forced to sleep rough, and it's why we will redouble our efforts. I will not just maintain our bed every night scheme in this third term, I'm going to expand it to make sure that we can give an offer of accommodation to everybody. Alongside that, I want to make the Housing First pilot that we've been running in recent years a permanent scheme, where Greater Manchester uses the new financial arrangement we will be entering into as a result of the Trailblazer devolution deal, the single settlement. we will then have the ability to support people in a different way. And that's why I intend to make our Housing First pilot a permanent scheme, giving people homes plus the support, because all of the evidence is that it works. So this is how we build this plan to solve the housing crisis, of course starting with the emergency that is rough sleeping and homelessness. But there is no solution to the housing crisis unless you start to build new council homes or homes for social rent, working with our housing providers. And the commitment I'm making today is to build 10,000 homes for social rent, a new generation of council homes, at least 1,000 in each of the 10 Greater Manchester boroughs by the end of this mayoral term. And what I will be asking my housing team here at the Combined Authority later today is to produce a detailed delivery plan for those 10,000 homes, identifying the brownfield sites where they will be built, and to publish that plan before the end of the year. I have already established a land commission for Greater Manchester, and this is a body that is drawn from all of the major public landholders in the city region, some bodies at a national level. And I will be asking them to free up land so that we can build those homes and do it as quickly as possible. So we will bring forward that plan for you later in the year. But of course, alongside it, you need to stop the loss of truly affordable homes. And the reality is, the right to buy policy, as it currently exists, is actually making the housing crisis worse every year. It's not making it anything other than more difficult, the scale of the challenge. On the last figures that we have available, I think for 2022-23, Greater Manchester net lost 500 truly affordable homes because of the number that are being built is outweighed by the number that are being lost. And we liken this to trying to fill a bath with the plug out. You know, you can't do it if the homes are still being lost in that number. And if you carry on in this way, it means the stock of social homes is dwindling every year. So the ability of people to have the secure foundation of a home for social rent is going, and less people can benefit from that. So the call we're making on the government is that we are able to suspend the right to buy from the 10,000 new homes that we will build. And of course, you may remember that that's part of a plan for 30,000 across the city region, and it will be those 30,000 that we build within a decade. We do not want those homes to be lost. The problem we have, and our councils have the same problem, is right to buy is actually a disincentive to build council homes, because if public bodies know they're going to lose them or could lose them, they don't have that incentive to build them. So this is a really important part of the plan. And I'm hoping that we will be able to work with the government to put it in place. You'll note it's suspend, not end, because we do know that right to buy has been a really important thing for many people. It's just that we need to allow it at a time when we're in a position where we are net adding social homes to the stock every year, not at a point where we are losing them as we are now. Just to move on, if I can, finally, to housing standards. You will know we were doing work in the second term around a Greater Manchester Good Landlord Charter. And I've asked that charter open for applications by the summer. So we're going to bring that in quickly now. It's been developed with landlords, but also with tenants' representatives, and it's good to go. And we will be shortly opening the scheme for applications. Alongside it, though, recognising that some landlords will not choose to join the improvement journey that the Charter will facilitate, we are going to give our residents the right to request a property check if they are concerned that their home is unfit or unsafe in any way. And I will pilot that right to request in part of Greater Manchester, and we will launch that pilot later this year. Obviously, to open up that possibility to the whole of the city region will take a little time, but we will bring in a pilot of the right to request later in the year. So as you can see, we are taking action here on every level. Action on homelessness, which I said at the start of my mayoralty was a priority, and by being back out there this morning to look at the situation as it is now, you can see that I am personally committed still to making sure that we don't have a situation where people are forced to sleep rough in our city region. I will continue to donate 15% of my own salary every month to support a bed every night. And as I say, I will be asking the team to expand it alongside the work we're doing on Housing First and making that permanent. But you've also heard this morning about a new ambition around building new council homes and improving the standard of the homes that we've got, never forgetting that a 2-year-old boy lost his life in Greater Manchester because of the damp and mould in his home. I said at the time that had to be a watershed moment when it comes to the housing debate in this country. This morning, I think you can see that it is exactly that. There is a very different approach coming through now to solving the housing crisis in Greater Manchester. I believe we can do it within a decade, given the strength of our city region in terms of what we are able to do. People have seen what we've done with the B network and the plan we've put in place for that, but we're going to bring the same energy to fixing the housing crisis in our city region, because none of our ambitions for this place are achievable unless all of our residents have that foundation of a good, secure home. They can't have good health or a good life without a good, secure home. That's why we are adopting a housing first mentality across the whole of our city region, and it's why this will be a mission that we all work on together. So thank you very much indeed, everybody, for coming along this morning. I'm more than happy to take any questions in this format if you would like to, or one-to-one interviews. But Joe, you look like you want to ask.
I just wanted to ask more about the right to buy proposal. So would it be specifically for those 10,000 homes that it would be suspended? Is that what your call is? And also, can you tell us more about what a suspension means? Because when someone buys their own council home, it doesn't necessarily add to the housing problem. The problem comes much later down the line when it goes on the private market. You know, the property comes out of the social housing stock and actually the people move out, and then it goes in the private rented market. So what would suspending it actually achieve in the short term? Surely it needs sort of a much longer term approach. Or are you suggesting that those 10,000 homes can never be bought on right to buy?
Well, it's a good question, Joe. I mean, I think the answer is that we would both want to suspend it from those homes, so the new stock that we will be building. And I would say, given that nobody's, that's not affecting anyone's right, I think probably you would say that you wouldn't want to see it brought back in. You would suspend it indefinitely from those 30,000 homes that we plan to build. Alongside that, we are also suggesting that councils should be able to suspend in areas where there is overly high pressure on the social rented stock. So where there are sort of hotspots within the city region where there is a clear lack of social housing, that should be able to be done. But that would be more suspension, and you would bring it back when you're in a position where, and I would say within all 10 boroughs, you are building more every year than you are losing through right to buy. Until you get to that position, I don't think you could remove the suspension, because, as I say, the housing crisis is deepening every year because of the way the policy is currently working. I'm not against people having the right ultimately to own their own home. It's not about that. It's not saying that this goes completely. It's just getting it into a more sensible place to support, a serious solution to the housing crisis.
Firstly, have you had these conversations with Labour at all yet? And also, one of the issues that you brought up, that we know about in terms of sort of rough sleeping at the moment, and the pressure on the system, is the asylum decisions being sped up.
Yeah.
And my question is, have you had those conversations with the Labour as well? What do you think would be different under a Labour government in terms of that additional pressure you're getting from the asylum system?
Yeah, so I have had very good discussions with colleagues on the front bench, and we are talking about a housing delivery plan for Greater Manchester. So the plan that I've outlined to you this morning, we very much want to deliver it with the Labour front bench, and then hopefully a Labour government. I think this presents a real opportunity to change the way policy is developed. You've got 11 Labour mayors now across the big cities of England. I think what we should be working to do in the remainder of this year is put in place a clear plan for housing in all of those places, agreed with colleagues on the front bench, so that the delivery can happen quickly with a change of government. And that's a very different possibility than we had in 1997, where there wasn't a regional delivery infrastructure. So we are talking to them about that. As part of that, we obviously will say that the disincentive effect of right to buy is a real issue, and therefore it needs to be addressed. But we're talking to them more broadly about all of these issues. And I think I said before, the plans that we had around reform of the benefits system, the words I had in my election manifesto were agreed with the Labour front bench. So we're moving into different territory here. I've kind of had to work hard, as has the team here, to keep Greater Manchester moving forward at a time where it's felt that the country has been going in the opposite direction. But we are facing now the quite exciting prospect of trying to put these plans forward with the government at our back and supporting us. So that could be Greater Manchester's moment of maximum opportunity, and it feels like it's on the horizon now. Sorry, on the asylum system. Well, I've spoken to the Home Secretary directly about it, because he was in Greater Manchester a few weeks ago. I haven't directly spoken to Yvette Cooper about it, but I do know that she supports what we're saying, that there should be a more managed process. Just to evict people without support, it's quite obviously disrespectful to those people, but also to councils who are then left without funding to put in place a solution for people. It just requires a transitional period so that people can be pointed in the right direction. So I've met many people out there this morning who are in that position, and our street engagement team has a hub at Mustard Tree where people are directed to, and often it's possible to sort out a solution for them. But it just shouldn't be the case that they're just thrown out with no help. Yeah.
Hi. Does the introduction of Housing First also entail the scrapping of local connection laws, which potentially discriminate against gypsy travellers, people fleeing domestic violence, and entrenched rough sleepers, homeless? So if they're going to apply for housing in Oldham, for instance, if they've just arrived there, are they going to be given the support they need, or fobbed off, as the case is now? Like, you've got people like Stuart Potts housing people in his council flat, 15 people sometimes. Is that something you'd like to change as well?
Well, obviously there are some functions here that are the responsibility of local authorities, and those allocation policies are for the 10 councils. And I don't want to give the impression that I'm telling them what to do. Those decisions will stay with councils. The Housing First philosophy, though, is a if you like, at a Greater Manchester level, is saying that we've got to make housing a top order priority, because people, as I said before, can't have a good life without a good home, and too many people in Greater Manchester don't have a good home, either because they are homeless or because they're living in a situation where the conditions of their home are poor and they're damaging to their health. So I just think we've just got to get into a different situation. Obviously, there are lots of people on council waiting lists across Greater Manchester. I think the last figure I saw was around 80,000. So in that situation, of course, councils have to have criteria. They are not able to help everybody, and they therefore have to have those allocation policies that mean that they have to prioritise some groups over others. What we want to get to, though, is a position where we are building council homes for social rent in enough numbers that those policies are able to change.
Hi, I just wanted to touch on the 10,000 homes by the end of the year, 1,000 in each borough. Do you really think that's going to tackle the housing crisis fast enough to keep up with the demand that they're facing? In Oldham, in just the end of last year, they said that the number of applications had doubled in just the past year, and Rochdale say they're receiving 150 new applications every week. Do you think 1,000 in each borough by the end of the year is really going to tackle it as fast as it's rising?
No, if I'm honest. And it's 10,000 within the mayoral term, so it's 1,000 in every borough by the end of 2028. So, and I appreciate people will say, well, it should be quicker than that, but I'm just being realistic as to what we can actually do. What will come by the end of the year, though, is a plan for those 10,000. You'll see where they're being built, and what number and what standard. But no, I think this is just the start, and I think we have to accelerate the plan, and that's what I'm doing by setting this mission of solving the housing crisis within a decade. Greater Manchester will never get where I want it to get to if it's still in the grip of a housing crisis, and it is in the grip of a housing crisis at the moment. So we have to solve it, and we have to make it a more urgent priority, and that's what I'm doing today. We've got a plan for 30,000 homes. So the 10,000 is the first instalment, if you like, of a bigger plan. And we need to start thinking now about where the rest of those homes are going to go. But it's frustrating, isn't it? It's a crisis, and yet where is the urgency? And I think we've been in that position across the country actually for some time. But it's why I'm just trying to change the debate today. You've got to have a discussion about right to buy. I mean, some people will maybe find that sort of inconvenient, but to be honest with you, it's just got to be done, because if you're losing more homes than you're actually building that are truly affordable, you're not solving the housing crisis, are you? So yeah, I take your point. Urgency is what's needed, but I've thought carefully about it, but that is as fast as we can possibly go, if I'm being honest with you. But I am going to go at that pace.
Yeah, if you don't mind, could I just touch on the local election over the weekend?
Sure.
So it seemed to go quite well for Labour, but we did lose the overall in Oldham, and the Deputy Leader of Manchester City Council obviously lost his seat. A lot of our listeners and people we speak to are a bit worried about Labour's stance on the situation in Gaza. Just wondering, now you've been put back in your position, how you're going to win back the electorate nationally before the general election?
Yeah. Well, they were really, I think, encouraging results for Labour. Certainly here in Greater Manchester, it's been pointed out to me that my majority in the election is the biggest ever of any, which is pretty amazing. But as I say, it's an endorsement of everything that Greater Manchester is trying to do. So I think we take real encouragement from the results. But always, elections kind of bring things over to you that you needed to hear. And I think there's obviously a lot of concern in both our Jewish community and our Muslim community about the situation in the Middle East. And we are a city region that listens, and and then we represent what we hear to politicians at a national level. So I pay tribute actually to our 10 leaders here for the way that they've gone about things. Obviously, there were some difficult results in parts of the city region, but it will not stop us really engaging with all of our communities, and where we've lost some support and some trust, winning it back.
So it was great hearing about the council housing, how you're going to focus on land. Obviously, that's a huge aspect of trying to deliver more homes.
Yeah.
But is the group also going to look at the funding issues when it comes to delivering these homes, and also planning? Because I know that's a major hurdle for every single housing association.
Yeah. So you are absolutely right that land is a massive issue, and that's why we've set up the Land Commission. So just to explain, I mean, the National Health Service are on the commission, most Whitehall departments, organisations like Network Rail. There's a lot of land held by these organisations, and we want that land to be freed. And that then comes on to your next point, which is the funding issue. Because if we're using public land, then we can make the building of these homes financially more doable, because obviously the land creates a subsidy. So that is a big part of our plan. With regard to planning, Greater Manchester has put in place a framework, places for everyone, that 9 of our 10 councils are part of. So we have gone through some difficult debates about planning and land allocation in our city region, and because of that won't delay us now. We've got a plan that has been adopted, so that's a strong position for us to be in. Are we good? Thank you, Claire. Well, thank you, everybody. Thanks very much for coming in this morning, and I look forward to continuing to work with you all. Thank you.